What a weekend of college football we just had. Now the Bluebloods are here to bring you all the information you need to wrap up an exciting weekend of college football, given a day late. But we're here. We're going to start with recapping our Pick 6 games, in which were arguably the best, most exciting and important games of the weekend. And then we're going to move on, break down the new BIG-10 schedule, which was released Saturday morning. We have a full show, even though we only got 2 segments. So let's go ahead, kick this off. So week 3 has come and gone, guys. But listen, the SEC joins the party next weekend. We have plenty to recap from this weekend of college football. And in case you weren't here when we started the podcast, we have Pick 6. We picked 6 of the best, most important games of the weekend, make our predictions, break them down. So right now we're going to recap them, give you guys all the info you need to know from all these exciting games. So let's start with one of probably the most unpredictable, craziest games of the weekend down in Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Oklahoma State Cowboys pulled out a close 16-7 win over the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. Brandon, I know this game had us both sweating. What were your thoughts here?
Well, for a second, I thought I was going to have to just not show up to the podcast today because we had it. I mean, we could not have been more wrong about this prediction. Somehow this was a game until the fourth quarter. So Tulsa was winning at halftime. Tulsa was winning going into the fourth quarter. And then Oklahoma State decided, you know what, we probably should start playing football in the fourth quarter. So they pulled off. They got 13 points in the final quarter of play. I don't know. I tried to watch this entire game. I feel like I have to flip between channels every now and then, but I just really wanted to keep the game on this channel for a long time.
Yeah, let's just say I'm kind of upset about how this game went, per se. I mean, listen, I want to start by saying this. I don't think this game could have went any worse for Oklahoma State in their offense. I mean, Brady, you had Spencer Sanders, starting quarterback, finally has some experience. He goes down early in the first quarter. I believe it was their second drive of the game, and he could not return. Their main backup, Ethan Bullock, definitely not up to the task. Brandon, I know for a fact I could have cut one of your hands off, blinded you. You still probably would have had a better chance than Ethan Bullock at making a pass to Tylan Wallace because he had no idea what he was doing. I mean, he even threw an interception, I believe, on his first drive in the game. But listen, Shane Illingsworth stepped up, Brandon, true freshman 4-star. He led the scoring drive touchdown on his first drive, and he 3 scoring drives late in the game. I mean, 4 for 5, 75 yards. He was averaging 15 yards per throw, Brandon. Listen, I personally believe this kid's the best quarterback on the roster. He might not be able to run like Spencer Sanders, but this kid has an arm. And, Brandon, I still feel good in our prediction. I really do. So you already had COVID, so everything's kind of on rocky start. You don't have a home field advantage. You didn't get all the preparation, and then your starting quarterback goes down. I mean, how many reps do you think Shane Illingsworth got in practice over the offseason?
None. It's Shane Illingworth, so we got to do something about this thing. We got to do something about the pronunciation because I feel like I'm being dragged down by your performance.
That's fine. We you can drag. I can drag you down. You picked the podcast up, Brandon. But you know what? If that's the case, you're just like the Oklahoma State defense. Because whatever you want to say, this Oklahoma State defense looked amazing this weekend. I mean, Brandon, we talked Tulsa's offense. A lot of people said this was going to be a high-scoring game. Oklahoma State held Tulsa to 278 yards, and the biggest stat of the day, 0 for 11 on third downs.
Right.
That's elite status right there, and the defense consistently was put into horrible positions, Brandon. I mean, how many drives was the defense put into a terrible position by a turnover, by the offense getting a quick 3-and-out? I mean, they were on the field all game long, and that secondary, I think it's the best secondary in the Big 12. It's right up there with Baylor. I mean, Trey Sterling had 8 tackles from a safety spot. Tanner McAllister had 6 tackles and a pass break of his own. Colby Harville-Peel, 3 tackles, had the lone interception. Malcolm Rodriguez was all over the field in coverage and in the front seven, 10 tackles, a sack, Brandon, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hurries. And this defense is why I'm still confident in this pick. I mean, this might be one of the best defenses overall in the Big 12. And that's really, I mean, them, Chuba Hubbard, and Tyler Wallace are why I picked this team. And if this O-line can get better, I feel real confident. But Brandon, I know you kind of want to speak on this. This offensive line looked atrocious this weekend.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a big if they can get better, because I mean, I guess it is hard to get worse if you're Oklahoma State's offensive line. That's the spin zone I'll give them. But man, what a rough outing. I mean, I don't know. Chuba Hubbard couldn't go anywhere. Spencer Sanders is sitting there. Your starting quarterback's getting hurt because why? Because you don't have an offensive line. So I don't know, man. You got to pick it up.
It's a bad look. I mean, Hubbard somehow still came away with 93 rushing yards, a touchdown.
Yeah, but he didn't look good.
No, he's going to have to be better. I was about to get there. He's going to be a lot better for this team to compete against teams like Oklahoma and Texas. And the offensive line gave up 6 sacks, Brandon. That's a major, major concern, but I expect improvement. But I still got confidence in Oklahoma State. I know Brandon might not, but we'll find out more next week. The Cowboys head to, or host West Virginia next week in their conference opener. Tulsa heads to Arkansas to take on Arkansas State this upcoming weekend, and what's sure to be another really tough game for the Golden Hurricanes. But we're going to move on here. We're going to move on to Syracuse at number 25, Pitt. Pitt won not really a close game, but it's a low-scoring game, 21-10. In their conference home opener. Brandon, what did you think of the Pitt Panthers here?
The one thing I have to say about Pitt is I'm sorry, Kenny Pickett, because he looked really, really good for at least part of this game, didn't he?
I think he played well, but Brandon, I know you probably feel the same way. I think this works against Syracuse. This works against Austin Peay. I need to see him push the ball down the field more consistently. He had one really good touchdown pass up the seam. I believe it was in the first or second quarter, if I'm not mistaken, but he's still only averaging 6 yards per completion. That's not going to cut it against the Clemsons, the UNCs, and Notre Dames.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was 70% passing this weekend too, which I mean
that's pretty outstanding against that Syracuse back end.
That's what I'm saying, and I mean, it's better than what Tommy DeVito could say that he was.
Well, okay, let's stop. I don't even want to hear Kenny Pickett and Tommy DeVito in the same paragraph.
Bench sack.
Yeah, he should have.
But his name sounds really good, right?
Yeah, it sounds great until you realize that he might be the worst quarterback in the Power 5. I think Rutgers might have a better quarterback.
So I'm pretty sure that last season we just relentlessly bullied. I can't remember who it was. It was just some quarterback for having an 11 QBR. Tommy DeVito had a 7.8 QBR this weekend. So I don't know how you do that.
I mean, well, okay, let's give him a small break. I mean, look, this was my big takeaway from the game, Brandon. I mean, all about defensive domination from this Pitt defense. I mean, Brandon, they held the Orange to 171 total yards, only 10 first downs, and 2 for 14 on third downs. Brandon, they only allowed them to have 1.5 yards per rush, 2 turnovers, and they racked up 7 sacks and 13 tackles for loss. Right. I mean, I don't think you could have put anybody on that Syracuse roster back there, and Rashad Weaver would have eaten them alive. I mean, he had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and Brandon, you know my favorite player on this Pitt team. If you've been listening, you know my favorite player on this Pitt team, Paris Ford. He continued his stellar season, 4 tackles, another interception, which gives him 2 as many games he's played this year. Brandon, I know you're really high on Stingley. I am too. I think Ford could be right there with Stingley making a run for the Thorpe Award for one of the best secondary players in the country by the time the season's over.
Yeah, I mean, he looked great, and that interception, it wasn't what you think of when you think of like a spectacular interception, but I mean, he laid out for it and he got it. He caught that pass that I don't know another defensive back that would have made that play. I mean, it was like a tip ball, and he just laid out for it and got the interception.
Yeah, but the thing that gets me about him is I don't know how you feel. I mean, he always seems to be in the right spot.
Right.
There's never a play I'm like, hey, where is Paris Ford? Wasn't he supposed to be there? He's always like, oh, I didn't think Paris Ford was going to be right there. Like, how did he get there? Did he teleport across the field? I mean, the kid is elite, guys. And, Brandon, I do agree with you. I think Kenny Pickett was the bright spot for this Pitt offense. But, I mean he's going to need more help. I mean, that running game, only 2.9 yards per rush against a weak Syracuse front seven.
Yeah. I mean,
Not
but that
great.
also that also counts in Kenny Pickett's sacks. But yeah,
Yeah, well, that's another problem. Well, how is Syracuse if Syracuse is getting to Kenny Pickett and he forces them kind of into a weird interception? And what do you think Clemson's defensive line is going to do to Pitt?
okay, fair enough.
And I don't think Clemson's the only team. I mean, Notre Dame has some pretty good pass rushers. What about Miami? You think Quincy Roche is a bum? I don't think so.
No.
I think Pitt right now, Brendan, is competing for the middle to lower top tier in the ACC. I think they're gonna be a tough team for almost anybody to beat in the ACC. And as weird as this to say, that defense is gonna show up week after week. I think the big question mark, Brandon, I think any Pitt game we cover in the future, it's almost a guarantee that the storyline to watch is what Kenny Pickett are we going to get? I think that's fair, right? I mean, he holds the key to how the ceiling and the floor of this Pitt team.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
So we'll see, guys. But Pitt has a big matchup next week, a ranked matchup against Louisville. And Syracuse hosts Georgia Tech next week in the Dome. That's going to be a barn burner, I'm sure. But we're going to move on to a game we're probably not going to spend much time on here. It was a massacre up there in South Bend. Number 7 Notre Dame shuts out USF 52-0. And guys, if you wanted pure domination, then this was the game. I mean, Notre Dame was better in every single aspect of the game, and USF looked overmatched for an entire 60 minutes.
Yeah, they did. I don't know, and I honestly, I mean, Ian Book looked incredible, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
came
he
out and
hit
he
three rushing touchdowns.
yeah. I mean, I think he only had like 9 rushing yards, but yeah, he's
Well,
kind
I'll
of
say, yeah,
Ian
he's like a
Book's kind
red
of like
zone runner.
yeah, Ian Book's kind of like that. He's like the make your own player in NCAA 14, where you make a quarterback and then you just run with him. Like, why even have an arm, really?
I mean, yeah, because what he had 143 yards passing. I mean, he had an 86.9 QBR. That's really good.
Yeah,
But they got to be vanilla. I mean, why would you show anything against USF, Brandon? Uh, you know, the strength of USF is their secondary. So why, if you can run it, I mean, the leading rusher, Sebo Flimpster, had 120 yards rushing and averaged 9.8 yards a carry. Why would you ever pass it? And the Notre Dame team had 6 rushing touchdowns.
which is nuts.
Just outrageous. But, we talk about bad quarterbacks with Tommy DeVito. Brandon, how about this quarterback issue down in South Florida? I mean, Jordan McLeod, Noah Johnson, Contravius Marsh. I don't think I've seen more horrendous football in my life. I mean, the highest QBR between the three was a 21.2, while somehow, Johnson racked up, Brandon, a whopping 7.6 QBR.
See, but you say that, and then you look over to Notre Dame's side, and you see that Drew Pine had a 2.4 QBR. I mean, let's not make fun of the kids. So, okay, I don't want to keep going on this rant, but how is this calculated? Because Travius Marsh had no completions, no passing yards, no stats, and still had a 10.5 QBR. So, what was my QBR this weekend? What did I have? Like an 11?
How many beers did you throw in the trash?
Oh man, a lot. Zach, I talked to you Saturday night a lot.
So your QBR might have been as high as Ian Book's.
Hey, look, I mean, I barely missed. I think I might have missed like one, maybe. So yeah, I think it's
Listen,
pretty high.
if there's any arena football teams out there, B-Dub's looking for a shot. He's got a hell of an arm on him. He was the best long snapper in the state of Alabama back in the day. Hit him up. But guys, Notre Dame heads to face Wake Forest next week. I don't know how close of a game that will be, but we'll see. While South Florida heads to face in-state rival Florida Atlantic next weekend, and we'll see if they can get back on the right track. It's a lot better matchup for USF next week than this week, but we're going to a game that broke my heart, guys. I'm still not over this game. We're going to talk about Central Florida beating Georgia Tech 49-21. Brandon,
Oh, man, Zach, oh man,
listen, don't let this final score mislead you, because Georgia Tech was in this game until mid fourth quarter.
but were they?
Yes, they were.
I don't know, Zach. I don't know about that.
UCF scored 21 unanswered in the final 10 and a half minutes.
Okay.
Whatever.
No, that's fine. I knew it wouldn't be this close. Zach had this game. He had Georgia Tech losing by a field goal. And as a matter of fact, in the first quarter, Zach texted me and said, "Man, I should have picked Georgia Tech." And I said, "Don't." I said, "Not so fast." And I pulled out my mascot head like Lee Corso, and I pulled out the Black Knight. And you want to know why? Because I knew all along in my heart that UCF was going to win this game, and they were going to win this game. I mean, they were going to more than double Georgia Tech's points, because guess what, Zach? Georgia Tech, not good at football. I try to tell you, you don't listen, not good at football.
I'm not here for the slander. I mean, listen, Georgia Tech, the turnovers beat them, man. I mean, they tried to do too much. 5 total turnovers. And UCF consistently turned those into points. And you can't pull off an upset over a top 15 team with 5 turnovers. Brandon, I know you're going to bring them up. Yeah. I'll beat you to it. Dylan Gabriel, absolutely spectacular. He's elite. He, over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. And, Marlon Williams, 150 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. And, Brandon, for the entire wide receiving unit for UCF, they averaged 15 and a half yards per catch for everybody.
Yeah, they did.
That's stupid. That is ridiculous. How is that even possible? Not one person messed that average up?
Yeah, I mean, I told you about this kid. You always want to keep talking about Sam Howell. I'm a Dylan Gabriel guy. I'm sorry, through and through. I am. 417 yards passing, Dylan Gabriel guy.
I'm upset. But listen, I want to talk about a kid who absolutely flashed for me, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brandon. We've talked about him a little bit. 4-star, true freshman. I mean, listen, 66 yards rushing, 60 yards receiving, 2 total touchdowns. Doesn't sound like an impressive stat line. If you watched the game, he just popped off the screen for me. I mean, he looks like he could be a future NFL pick out of Georgia Tech at running back. And Brett, I don't know how far into the game you watched, I know some people don't like to listen to the announcers that closely, but Greg McElroy, in I think it was the third quarter, said that he read a scouting report on Gibbs, and it said pro comparison, it was Reggie Bush.
Nah, that's nuts.
That's outrageous. I mean, just to even maybe be Reggie Bush is an outstanding feat. And this kid looked every bit the part of an elite running back, and I'm so excited. And listen, I've talked about in the last 2 weeks, Jeff Sims has a lot of potential, but he has to stop trying to do too much, Brandon. I know you see it. I know you see the potential, but he forces too many passes. He escapes the pocket just a little bit too quick, and that's all going to come to him. He's going to figure out how to work through his progressions, all that, but he's going through some freshman growing pains. I mean, 244 yards passing, 82 yards rushing, 2 total touchdowns. I don't know how he had a 24 QBR, Brandon. How in the world do you throw for 250 yards, have 82 rushing and 2 touchdowns? Yes, you had 2 interceptions, but that's a 24. That's like a F minus.
Okay.
How in the world? I need to know how this is calculated. But listen, I think it reflects his accuracy and decision making right now. Bright future. but he's going to go through some freshman growing pains. And Brandon, you got the win here. I guess I also got the win. My heart wasn't in it though. I felt like a passenger here being drug along, but your boy got the win. UCF has to East Carolina next weekend. I don't know how that's going to go for East Carolina, but I'm assuming not very well. Georgia Tech, like I said, heads to the Dome to face Syracuse in a huge conference matchup. Guys, we're going into our last game here. It's because Baylor-Houston that we were going to cover here got canceled because of COVID concerns at Baylor. So that's why we're not covering that game, because there's nothing to cover. But me and Brendan are fairly certain that Baylor would have won that game. So we're chalking that up to a win for all of us here. Miami, Louisville here, guys. I've been trying to avoid it. The Hurricanes dominate, 47-34 win, over the Cardinals up in Louisville. Brandon, go ahead. I know you got a lot to say, and I know none of it's insightful, so go ahead.
Some people would say I had a lot to say, including you. I don't have much to say, Zach, except I was right, you were wrong. It's simple as that, Zach. And Derek King came out and he showed Louisville what he was made of. And Malik Cunningham, he did look pretty good, just not as good as Derek King this weekend. I don't know what to say, Zach. I have no idea what else to say other than let's go the U.
The U. Let me say this. I think the biggest story, I'm going to spin this. I've been thinking about how to do it. I'm putting my lawyer skills to work here. The biggest story of the night is that Louisville's offense deserved all the hype they got during the offseason. But this defense, someone take their scholarships. They don't even deserve it.
All of them.
This defense might be the worst defense in the ACC. I'm here to say it. The Cardinals gave up over 500 total yards, but they also put up over 500 total yards and turnovers. 3 turnovers against a team like the Hurricanes are going to cost you a game like this every single time. And, I'm upset because De'Aaron King and Cameron Harris absolutely looked the part. This might be one of the best 1-2 combos in the ACC, right up there behind Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. I mean, King over 300 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. That's huge in a game like this. And Brandon, remember in the preview episode, I said I need to see him make more plays from the pocket? Well, guess what? He did. He pushed the ball deep down the field in the pocket. He didn't have to rely on his legs every play. If he can do this game in and game out, Miami is a top 3 team in the ACC.
Yeah.
That's their potential. And Brandon, Cameron Harris, that's a grown man playing amongst 18-year-olds. I mean, 14.9 yards per carry in a ranked matchup on the road.
And we thought they were going to miss DJ Dallas.
DJ Dallas, don't even mention him. I don't even want him in the same show as Cameron Harris. We're going to have to edit that out now. He doesn't deserve to be in the same show as Cameron Harris. I mean,
all right, well, sorry. His
size makes him such a hard player to tackle. I mean, he could turn any play into a back-breaking, 70-yard run. And Brandon, Brevin Harris, too. I want to say this. That tight end, I mean, that leaping, that hurdle he had on the way in the – oh, my gosh. I was like, dude,
I was just looking back at our text where you said Javian Hawking is really good. I said, you're so mad that Miami's winning. You said, mark me down as not worried. And followed by, that hurdle was sick. I mean, what a night.
It was a night. I mean, 7 catches, 120, a touchdown. It's crazy. I mean, this Cardinals defense has to be better, Brandon. Every play. I don't know how many plays Miami run off the top of my head, but every single play there was a missed tackle, a stupid penalty, a broken coverage, all that. And it's like, what are we doing here if we're Louisville? More discipline is needed. Improvements everywhere, more just attention to detail. I mean, I don't have any confidence in this defense, Brandon. Not a single one. I mean, I picked Louisville to finish, I believe, 4th in the ACC. I don't know if they're a top 7 team right now because of this defense.
Right.
You had them third. Are you confident they're going to finish third in the ACC?
I don't want to talk about it.
That's what I thought. But JV and Hawkins, Tutu Atwell, Brandon, I think you can agree. They put up elite performances in a loss. They just had a slow start. I mean, Hawkins over 106 yards rushing, a touchdown. Atwell, 110, 2 touchdowns. But, Brandon, I think the story is they started slow. Miami got the momentum. And the Hurricanes are such a much improved team from last year that I don't think you can count them out of any game. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat for anybody in the ACC.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's crazy. But, guys, Miami moves on to face a head coachless Florida State team next week, looking for a boost who won't get it. And Louisville has to face Pitt. That's going to be a hell of a matchup this upcoming weekend. It will be in our pick six, I can already tell you. But, guys, we're going to move on here. Second segment of the day. And it's one that, Brandon, we didn't think we were going to have this year. We really didn't.
True.
But the Big-10 is back. They dropped their official 2020 schedule this weekend. It's a perfect time to do our breakdown of the conference schedule. Check out some older episodes to hear us break down the other conferences. But this one finally made it on the show. I'm excited for it. We're not making our official predictions yet. Those are coming the week before the Big-10 start. But, we're going to talk which team has the easiest path to the title, which teams caught unlucky breaks, which teams pissed off the commissioner. So, Brandon, I think we already know. I don't even have to introduce it. Well, let's start with the hardest schedule, and let's just do it together because I know we have the same team.
Go ahead.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Has to be, right?
Oh,
they're the ones who wanted to play.
Man,
they're the ones who were suing Kevin Warren.
Man. Listen, the Big-10 is over Nebraska, and they said, "Oh, you want to leave? You want to leave? Bet." Here's Ohio State on the road, week 1. My guy, have fun with Justin Fields after he dropped 50 on you last year at your place.
Oh, and you thought that was enough? You also got Penn State this year, so they drew two of the worst games they possibly could
in the first 4 weeks, and they said, "Oh, that's not hard enough. Let me just add Wisconsin in between those."
Yeah. Well, they had to play Wisconsin regardless. They're in their division.
The positioning is what, you get Ohio State, Northwestern, who won't be a super easy game. They're improving. Wisconsin, then Penn State.
Right.
That's brutal. That is brutal. I mean, you get to play in the first 3 weeks of the season, you get to play the two teams that were in the Big-10 championship last year.
Right.
Almost back to back. And Brandon, the funny thing is they weren't supposed to play Ohio State this year in terms of how the schedule adjusts. They played Ohio State last year. And since there's 14 teams in the Big-10 now, you're not supposed to play the same cross-divisional opponent each year. So the Big-10 purposely gave them Ohio State to prove a point. And you like Dan Patrick. You said he's a valid source. He said an insider source that was in the meeting of the schedule making said Kevin Warren and the schedule makers made this a point. This was the first matchup they made. They did this, and they said it was open in the table, and Kevin Warren was going to make this happen.
Well, that seems rude.
I love it. I love it. And you also get to play Iowa on the road, so you got to go to the Children's Hospital, which will be I don't know what's Iowa's attendance thing. Are they doing 10%? I don't know. Off the top of my head, but the Children's Hospital is still going to be in play there. And you get a season-ending game against Minnesota, who almost won your division last year.
Right.
I mean, look, listen. This schedule is brutal. I mean, the Big-10 is here to make the Cornhuskers wish they would have just stayed quiet. And listen, after beatdowns in the first few weeks, I think the Cornhuskers are going to be begging to go back to the Big 12 anyway. I mean, Brandon, do you see any way the Cornhuskers don't start 1-3?
No.
Not even a chance.
They might start 0-4.
That's what I'm saying. I hope Northwestern beats them. I'll root for it because I don't like Nebraska right now. I don't. I was on their side. Okay. I was on their side, but I still don't like Nebraska in the first place, so I am all for this torture. This is cruel, unusual punishment, and I'm all for it here. The Cornhuskers, when we do our Big Ten predictions, are not going to be in my top 5. Let's just say that. But Brandon, honorable mention here. This team didn't deserve what they got for me, and that's the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah.
I mean, they deserve better. They weren't outspoken, and guess what? They contribute in basketball, unlike Nebraska.
That is fair. That is more than fair.
And Michigan and some other schools. I mean, they get no breaks, though. I mean, Brandon, all in the first 5 games, they have to play Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State.
Not good. Not good for them.
They threw in Rutgers in week 2, but that doesn't help.
They gave them a little bit.
Just a little bit. And then you have to play Wisconsin. And then Purdue's finally healthy, and you get to end the season with Purdue.
Man, it's not good for them whatsoever. They're done for.
Oh, that's a fact. I mean, and this team gets the best of the Big Ten in almost back-to-back games. And Michigan State, Ohio State are back-to-back. And, injuries, fatigue, COVID could make this schedule, I think, one of the most daunting in the country. And I mourn my poor Indiana Hoosiers today. And the Big Ten did them dirty.
No, I mean, no doubt.
Oh, man. Do you have an honorable mention, Brandon?
No, but I've got a lot of ideas about the easy schedules. I've got a lot of thoughts.
Ohio State is the only choice here for the easiest schedule.
That's the easiest. There are a lot of easy ones, though.
Well, let's talk Ohio State first. I mean, they didn't need any help, Brandon, but here we are, and they gave them the easiest meat of the schedule in the entire country.
Yes.
I mean, Brandon, I don't think anyone will even watch an Ohio State game from week 3 to week 7 of the Big Ten schedule. I mean, they get Nebraska to come get demolished. Penn State on the road is going to be a big test. But then they get Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, all back to back to back.
Right. They don't have to play Minnesota or Wisconsin. So I mean, their out of division games just are a joke.
Brandon, between those 4 games, I think Fields might play a combined 4 quarters between all 4 of them.
I mean, that would be disrespectful, but yeah.
I mean, and listen, they do get Michigan State back to back. But I think Ohio State's leaps and bounds better than both of those teams. I don't think that's a huge. I don't know. I don't think that's a huge task for them.
No.
And listen, I think Ohio State's going to run away with this title, man. If Michael Parsons opts back in, I think there's just too much to overcome, man. I mean, how does Ohio State lose a game?
I don't know. I don't think that they do. I mean, I really and truly think they go undefeated, and I don't even think the Michigan game's close. Like, the Michigan game is sometimes like a pretty fun game to watch there. I don't think that one's close. I think the only chance they lose is in Champions Week.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. But Brandon, go ahead. As you said, you had a lot of thoughts, so take it over.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the other division here. And Wisconsin and Minnesota got off pretty easy, didn't they?
I would say.
I mean, Minnesota drew Michigan, Maryland, just Michigan and Maryland from the other division. So that's their 2 out of division games. Then Wisconsin drew Michigan and Indiana. So I get it. Indiana beat Wisconsin last year. Who cares? Oh, I'm sorry. Illinois beat them. Those are the same school to me.
Wow, that's tough.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know Lovie Smith beat him, and I was like, oh, he's for sure in Indiana, but he's just not. But, okay, so Wisconsin gets 2 really easy out of division games, as does Minnesota. They both drew Michigan, so I mean, we didn't even talk about the honorable mention that Michigan is for a hard schedule. I mean, good Lord. I mean, it's as if Jim Harbaugh wasn't already fighting for his life, right, Zach?
Yeah, they get Minnesota and Penn State back to back. They get Michigan State. Their bye week lies before what? Indiana?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a good look. And it's just I don't know, man. I'm real upset at what has happened here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we're shocked. I have no idea why we're shocked because the Big Ten is just doing the same thing that the SEC did, and then the ACC did, where they give the best teams the easiest shot to make it to the playoff. I
I
mean,
mean,
who's
we
surprised?
talk about Michigan though. I mean, they also could start 1-3.
They could, and they look. They
They
might.
might. They might, because of what they had 6 players opt out right after the schedule was dropped.
Which is just an awful look, right?
That has to hurt my feelings. I mean, are you seriously been wasting my time? We're developing, hopefully getting ready for the season, and as soon as we fight to get you guys to play, you say, I'm out. I'm good.
They saw they had Minnesota week 1. They said, I'm not so sure. And then they saw they had Wisconsin week 4, and they said, you know what? That's enough of that. We're out. So, go ahead.
It's like every other week. They got, the first 2 weeks they get Minnesota, Michigan State, tough games. Then they get a break with Indiana. They get Wisconsin. They get a break with Rutgers. Here comes Penn State. A break with Maryland. Here comes Ohio State. It's like you get it's like drowning in the ocean, and you just get like short breaths in between waves. And you're just like, maybe I won't drown today. Hopefully the rip current doesn't pull me under.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Because what happens if they lose to Indiana? What? Like, God forbid they lose to Indiana. Will you be on the fire Jim Harbaugh train with me then, Brandon?
I might have to be. I don't think that they can fire him. I think it's a ridiculous take that you have that they will fire him.
Well,
But if they start out 0-4, then yeah, he's not making it to game 5.
Brandon, based on the schedule right now, what is it? Is it 10 games?
It's 8.
8? Brandon, 3-5 looks like the most likely record for Michigan. Are you okay with 3-5?
No, I'm not okay with 3-5, but you might be right with 3-5 now that I'm looking at it. I don't know, maybe 4-4.
Okay, if they beat Michigan State with a first-year head coach, you get any credit for that?
No, well, probably not.
No. Okay, so 4-4. You're okay with 4-4?
No,
you're the third highest paid head coach in the entire country.
No, I mean, you think you gotta cut off some loose ends at that point. Maybe trim the fat.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, come on, man. Minnesota, Wisconsin, that is going to be a barn burner for that division.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, those teams are going to be fighting and clawing. And I'm really upset that that game isn't the last week of the season.
It's not the last week of the season, but Zach, there is a silver lining because that is November 28th. That is normally rivalry weekend, so we get that.
That's going to be a brutal week, man. There can be some big games on that weekend. But Brandon, just like a little brief aside here for the Big Ten, the Champions Week is everyone's going to play. Do you think it hurts or helps their chances of getting 2 teams in the playoff with that setup?
That's really tough. I don't think it does anything really. I mean, I guess I could see one scenario where I guess Ohio State gets in, and then either Wisconsin or Minnesota also get in if you're in the Big Ten, and I guess it kind of hurts if you're the loser of the Wisconsin-Minnesota game who doesn't make it to the championship, to like the true championship game, and then you have to go play again and maybe lose that game. Yeah, I see how that hurts, but I mean, I don't know. That seems like a long shot to me.
Yeah.
I mean, out of these 2 teams, I see them each losing 1 game. Maybe.
Wisconsin and Minnesota?
Yeah.
I can see that. I think they both really have it. The winner of that game has a real good shot at going undefeated because, I mean, looking at their schedule, they both avoid Ohio State. Yes, they both have Michigan, but with all the opt-outs, how big of a threat is that? And their biggest threat might just be Iowa.
Right.
The big thing here, though, is Minnesota gets Iowa at home. Wisconsin has to travel to Iowa in December 12th, where that weather is going to be god-awful in Iowa on December 12th.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, just Brandon, snow football all week. I know you've already said it. Going to be wonderful on the weekend of December 19th. But I know, we're going to wrap this episode up here in a second. But Brandon, I got to ask, I saw some people talking about this on ESPN. What happens if a COVID outbreaks happen? There's no chance to reschedule a game.
No, I mean the Big Ten went with the 8 games in 8 weeks thing, or I guess now it's 9 games in 9 weeks. No bye weeks for anybody in this conference. So yeah, I mean, you don't have it. I mean, let's look at like the Baylor Houston game, for instance, where there was an outbreak and it wasn't handled very well, and they are able to reschedule, but you aren't able to do that if you're the Big Ten unless you want to push that back to the weekend, to the weekend of Christmas,
Right.
after championship weekend, and then like championship weekend's kind of null and void at that point, right? If you're having to reschedule the Wisconsin Minnesota game for the weekend after that, I mean that ruins things.
Right. And Brent, so what happens if Ohio State, like let's say they play Rutgers and having a COVID outbreak, Maryland has to cancel, or Indiana, or like you have 2 games. Are you letting a 6-0 Ohio State team into the playoffs?
I don't know, man.
That's going to be brutal, right? I mean, because what happens
Barely
if
playoff.
Florida?
I mean, barely bowl eligible, really.
Yeah, or like what happens? Worst case, to get 5 wins, 5 like you can't let a 5-win team into the playoffs.
No.
Because if Florida's 9-1, Georgia's 10-1, or Bama's 10-0, or Clemson's 10-1, Notre Dame's 10-1, those teams have to come before like a 6-win. Well, I think you're pushing it with 8 games.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
that was their whole thing, though. That's why they're playing the 9 games. That's why everyone's playing championship weekend, so that they have some kind of an argument to get in.
okay, I got to get your reaction on this, and then we'll end this off. I saw so the same critique about the schedule was like, how do you compare 11-game schedule for Clemson to an 8-game schedule of Ohio State, or 9-game, I guess, with conference weekend? And the Big Ten person was like, well, the SEC always plays 8 conference games. And the large response was like, yes, but they don't play Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana, and Illinois all back to back in their schedule. Like, it's just like, I don't think this debate will ever rest until we get like unified conference scheduling, because I don't think an 8-game schedule is comparable. I really don't. And I know that you get some backlash about that. I'm not saying they don't belong in the playoffs. If they go 9-0, they definitely belong. If they win the Big Ten, they get through all their games. But I think if you lose even 1 to 2 games, if you don't get to 9, maybe 8 wins, I don't think you can get in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I don't care who it is. If it was Auburn and we lost, LSU had an outbreak, Alabama, all that, and we only played 7 games and we went undefeated, I would say we don't belong in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to at least get 8, right? I mean, can we at least set some type of standard here?
I don't know, man. It's a weird year. I haven't made my mind up on this matter yet, so I'm not going to speak on it. But I don't know. That's tough.
Brandon said, I'm not gonna indict myself here on this episode.
Yeah, this is on the record.
Guys, this is a wrap on this episode, though. 45 minutes. We have a busy week, though, guys. We had to come a day late. B-Dub was feeling under the weather. Had to make sure your boy was good. So he's back. We rolling. This episode will be out midnight on or midnight Tuesday morning, I guess. Guys, Wednesday, we are live streaming our SEC preview prediction episode. So tune in there. It'll be available on Periscope, on our Twitter, at the __ Bluebloods. It will be live on our YouTube, the Bluebloods CFB podcast. Go find us on there, and our Facebook at the Bluebloods Pod. You can find all the announcements, everything on all our social medias, all that good stuff. Guys, find it out. Come figure out who we pick for the SEC. We've been working hard on some new graphics, other stuff like that. So this one's going to be the most lit live stream we've had so far. So go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook and our Instagram at the _ Bluebloods for announcements, live streams, all that good stuff. So tune in, find out what we're doing there. We'll also have an episode coming out Thursday or Friday. We haven't decided which day, but we're doing Pick 6, preview of the big weekend of college football. So tune in for that too. You guys get a lot more Blue Bloods content this week, so we appreciate all y'all tuning in. Check out our website, thebluebloodspod.com. Find us everywhere, man. I think we're almost through the process of being on the new Amazon platform, so find us on there if that's what your preferred platform is now. But we appreciate all of you guys listening. Keep listening, keep subscribing, keep rating the podcast. We love all our supporters out there, man. We appreciate all y'all. But for right now, we out.